What I'm going to talk about today is going to be the actual youth count survey. We'll talk about the escalation path. And again, please feel free to drop your questions into the chat box and we'll be able to address them at the end. And if not, we can compile all of those questions and provide a written response at a later time. So the first thing that you're going to want to do in order to be able to access this survey is download it onto your phone. There isn't going to be any sort of PHI that you all are collecting. Everything has been de-identified. So for folks that have to vet it with their IT, you can go ahead and communicate that to them. But if you need to use your personal phones, the application is available in either the Google Play Store if you're using an Android, or your Apple App Store. So you would type in Akido Connect once you've accessed either your Google Play Store or your App Store, and then you'll see it pop up. And once you find it, you'll download the application onto your phone. The next thing you're going to want to do is create your account. So you've downloaded the application onto your device. Next thing is open up the actual application. There's going to be a big create an account button that's placed directly on the bottom of your screen, and you're going to fill in your personal details using your personal email address and your invite code. The invite code specific to you all is YC 2022. So that stands for Youth Count 2022. It is case sensitive, so please make sure that you have everything in lowercase. And then when you finished, click create an account. Next, you're going to log in. So you've created your account. You'll get a little pop-up box that says you have successfully created your account. And then you're going to want to log in with the credentials that you just created. You're going to check that box right there, the terms and conditions, and then you'll select the login button. Couple of things I want to call out. Again, we are asking that you're using your personal email address. And the reason for that is because we have found that a lot of agencies or organizations might actually have firewalls that prevent them from getting access to our emails. So let's say in the event that you forget your password, you need to do a password reset. Some agencies, will block that email, so you might not get that password reset email. If you are choosing to use your agency email address, I'm asking everyone to make sure you just attempt a password reset on your phone. And if that email comes through, then you're good to go. Check your spam and junk inboxes before confirming. If you don't get it, then that's an indication to you all that maybe there is a firewall and you're going to want to proceed with creating an account using your personal email addresses. For individuals like Nancy or others that are participating in PIT count or have participated in demographic survey, we are asking that you create a separate email address. So if you're using, again, the same email address, a Gmail address that you may have for homeless count, and you're trying to create an account for youth count using that same email address, you're going to get flagged, hey, you already have an account with this email address. So please be sure to use a separate email account. Next, usually once you open your applications for the first time, it'll ask you if you want to have your location shared with the Akido Connect app. You're going to want to say yes, and this is going to enable tracking on your phone, and I'll talk a little bit more about that as we proceed with this training. But we want to know where you are when you're actually interviewing or surveying participants, and so that location survey sharing button is going to be very important. As a reminder, just make sure that you're connected to your mobile data. If you're connected to Wi-Fi, it's going to say that you're in offline mode if you're not actually able to access that Wi-Fi when you're in the field. And as a good reminder, please make sure that you are fully charging your phone. If you have a backup battery, even better. If you plan on canvassing by way of your car, for instance, driving from location to location, please make sure that you have a charger in your car so that you can keep your phone battery fully charged. All right, so after you actually have created your account and you've logged in, you're going to arrive at the home screen. This is what it's going to look like. It's going to display a map of the greater Los Angeles area. I want to just draw your attention to a few key features here, or buttons on here. These three buttons in the top right-hand corners will allow you to log out. There's a details tab. I'll talk a little bit more about that. This records button sort of operates as like your home button, so just keep that in mind. View list will give you an opportunity to identify or look at any of the surveys that you have submitted before you have finished your finish count survey, which I'll talk about in a second. And then you have your start counting button. You also have a zoom beacon right here. So if you want to zoom into the map to see where you are able to do that. Once you are in, you're going to want to go straight to your details tab. So that button right on the bottom right of your screen. On your app, you'll see some coordinator information so that whoever your point of contact will be to address any questions that you may have will be prominently placed there, as well as our Akido technical assistance hotline. So our phone number will be there in the event that you're running into any issues with the actual app. After, right, we're in the same tab, so we're in the details tab. We're going to stay there. And this is where we're going to actually assign ourselves a census tract. And so once you get your census tract assignment in the details tab right here where it says add tracts to my list, you're going to start entering in your census tract assignment. So the app is smart enough to intuitively identify based on the new numbers that you're entering, which census tracts you're trying to narrow down towards. And so in this example, I'm 20601, and it starts populating all of the sequences of census tracts that follow those same sort of numerical characteristics. Once you identify the census tracts that you need, you'll go ahead and press that plus add button, and then that census tract will live right here where it says additional map areas. So notice this first one, there's nothing there. You're typing it in, and once you've selected that add button, it lives right there in the additional map areas. You can go ahead and select that number right there, and then it'll bring you to the map of Greater Los Angeles. So you can either just select the records button, or you can actually push the numbers for that census tract, and it'll reroute you here to the home screen where you'll see an outline of the census tract assignment. And once you are in your assigned census tract area, that's when you're going to be ready to count. So whether you walk to that location or you drive to that location, but once you are ready to count, then you press that start counting button. The app is next is going to ask you which census tract do you want to start counting. And this is going to be a drop-down menu. So based on all of the census tracts that are assigned to you, that all of those options will be prominently placed within that drop-down. So you'll select the drop-down, this little arrow right here. It'll open everything up. You'll see the number, the census tract number you want to select, and you'll select it twice. We just want to make sure that there are no errors and giving you an opportunity to just double check and triple check which census tract you want to start counting. I also want to draw your attention to this toggle right here at the top that says Español. That will enable you to ask the questions in Spanish in the event that you're coming in contact with a Spanish-speaking participant. After you've selected your census tract, you'll select next. And then that brings you to that pre-count survey that Robin and Lauren were talking about. Your pre-count survey question is going to ask, are you canvassing a census tract? Are you administering a drop-in survey? Or are you inputting a paper survey? Select the one that is appropriate for you. And then at the outset, it's asking you about the number of gift cards that you currently have in your possession. That's a drop-down menu as well. So you'll go ahead and just enter the quantity that you have in your possession. And once that is filled out, you'll go ahead and select finish. If for some reason, just so you know, the app is really, you can't break the app, you can't really mess it up. If you haven't filled out a question, this is going to stay grayed out. If you have filled out the question, then it's going to turn blue and it'll enable you to move forward. Another thing that I wanted to point out is this start tracking and stop tracking button right here. That's going to be prominently placed on the home screen. If in the event that you need to pause, perhaps you're like, I've been canvassing for a number of hours, I need to take a break, gonna go grab some coffee. If you like, you can stop that tracking and then you can resume that tracking whenever you're ready. In the event that your battery, let's say your battery is drained, you're almost at the end, you can go ahead and stop that tracking. It's not going to prevent you from submitting and collecting surveys. It's just going to stop the tracking that's happening with the application. Next, you're going to start to add your survey responses. So notice how the screen changes a little bit. You've completed that start count. You've completed your pre-count survey. And then now all of a sudden the screen has this little add data button on the bottom left of your screen. That's an indication that you're ready to go and start entering in the survey responses. Next, once you select add data, you'll see right here, it'll give you an option to select youth count survey. You always want to make sure that that's what you're seeing, especially for the folks that are going to be toggling between homeless count or point in time count and this youth count survey. Just make sure that you see the name of the survey you are actually going to be moving forward with. From there, there's going to be a sequence of questions. Make sure you're reading all of the instructions and answering all of the questions. So you'll ask you about your spa, whether you're drop-in survey. It'll ask you about your location. When you select the location, this gray box right here, it'll automatically pull in the satellites from your area, and you can go ahead and select my current location. It'll put in some lat longs. If for some reason that information isn't populating, just a reminder to you, make sure that your location settings are on, make sure that you're connected to your mobile data, walk, from side to side until it's able to connect, and then usually it'll populate. And then you'll see the questions about the perceived characteristics. As the Lens Code team mentioned, this is going to be based on your perception. So again, read through all of the instructions, answer all of the questions, and then complete all of the questions here about age and gender and race, whether you observe any signs of whether it's a physical health condition, a mental illness, alcohol or substance abuse, so on and so forth. And then that last question that's going to indicate, or it's going to tell you whether or not you can move forward, or we're sort of at the end, is whether or not you were able to approach that respondent. If you select no unapproached, yes but refused, and yes but language barrier, you'll select finish. It'll bring you to the end of the survey, and this is what will populate. It'll say tally complete. But if the individual says, I'm willing to proceed with this survey, you'll go ahead and see a blue box that says continue, and then it'll bring you to the actual survey questions. Once you've completed all of those survey questions, the 12 or 13 questions that the Lens Code team referenced earlier, you'll still see the same box at the very end that says tally complete. And from there, there'll be a close button, and you can, basically keep going, add data again when you talk to another person, and keep on, so on and so forth. The process just repeats. So you've talked to person one, great. Now we're going to add data again. You're talking to person two. Now that that's done, great. We're going to add data again and talk to person three, so on and so forth. Once you've finished the entire census tract, that's when you'll actually do your finish count survey. That's at the very end. And so you'll see that button that says finish counting. And then the app is going to say, are you sure you want to finish counting? And if you are, then you will select yes, finish. And then these are going to be the series of questions that they ask you about that finish counting survey. How many gift cards do you currently have in your possession? So if at the outset you had 5 gift cards and you talked to 3 people and you gave away 3 gift cards, in this instance, your response here will be that you have 2 gift cards left, right? In an ideal situation. You'll also indicate here if you've had any issues with your gift cards or anything else you'd like to know. If you say yes, what's going to happen next is you're going to have a text box that populates, and it's going to give you an opportunity to write in any sort of information you want to share with your team. And then here at the very bottom, it asks if you are a team lead and you need to submit a CT assessment. I believe Laura already showed you some of those CT assessment questions. If you're not a team lead, then you can go ahead and press no, and then you'll be finished. If you are a CT lead, then the other questions, the subsequent questions, will automatically pop up, and you'll be able to complete those, and then you'll be able to select finish. Now, one thing I wanted to call out about birthday, once you actually move through the process, someone says, yes, I do want to proceed with the survey. For those that maybe don't feel like this is intuitive, I did record a little video showing you how you'll enter the date of birth. You'll select the little calendar in the corner. You'll see that a calendar pops up here. You'll use the arrow to identify the month that you're looking for. So I want August 2nd. And then for year, you'll select the actual year. So that 2021, you'll select that, and then you'll scroll until you find the year that is appropriate. And then once you identified it, go ahead and press OK. Obviously, in this instance, it's somebody from 1980. That would mean that they are ineligible to move forward with the survey, but you get the gist. There's going to be another question here also about race and ethnicity. So question 9 asks, what race or races do you identify with? Wait for response and choose all that apply. So in the event that someone says that they are Samoan and Hispanic, or white and Hispanic, or black and Hispanic, anything and Hispanic, for question 10, you don't necessarily need to ask them if they identify as Hispanic or Latinx. So just as a surveyor, if they've already communicated to you that they have, Hispanic as a race or an ethnicity that they identify with, then you can intuitively put yes here. But if they did not indicate that, then you would be prompted to ask them whether or not they identify as Hispanic or Latinx. Now, I've gone through, again, a high-level overview of the app questions and the app sort of workflow. But as mentioned, the best way for you to really understand how to use the app is to go into it. It's incredibly seamless. And the way that we've broken up may feel a little fragmented, and it will not be that way once you actually open up the app. It's, it just moves from step 1 all the way to step, 100. But I wanted to call out some customer support escalation pathways for you all. We want you to, talk to your coordinator if you're running into any issues, but in the event that they're running into a product issue, the app isn't working the way that it's supposed to, maybe something is freezing or it's glitching. If you have the opportunity, we ask that you go ahead and screenshot if you get an error message, for instance. And then when you call our tech support or if you email our tech support, they might ask you questions like what's your version number and the type of phone that you're using, whether it's an Apple or an Android. So just be prepared to answer any of those questions. And for those of you that are like, where's the version number? On the on the home screen showing you here, when you select those 3 dots there, that version number is going to be listed right in there as well. All right, so our phone number is here. I'm listing it here, giving you a second to capture it. I believe Lensco team will maybe be circulating this deck as well, so you'll have that available to you. I say plug it into your phone and be ready to have it just in case you need it. We also have an email address. That's going to be perfect for you all right now as you're playing with the app and practicing. If you're running into any issues with passwords, if you're running into issues just creating your account, for instance, go ahead and send them an email, and somebody from our customer support team will be able to support you. But I really do encourage you all to write down this information and have it readily available should you need it. I'll leave it up for just one more second, and then we can also just drop it into the chat box. A couple of other tips when you're using the app. For those of you that feel comfortable using your phones, there's some distinctions between like leaving the app running in your background and killing the app. When you're leaving the app running, it means that you're going to your home screen and you're able to sort of toggle between multiple apps. Maybe you're going to your map, maybe you're looking at text messages, but that Akido Connect app is just operating in the background. That's perfectly fine for you to do that. Just want to make sure that you're not going to have any data loss. Everything should be fine if you're just leaving the app running in the background. But should you kill the app, that sort of a swipe up feature, for those of you that have, especially Apple iPhones, that swipe up feature essentially means that you're killing the app, you're closing out the app completely. If you do that while you're in the middle of a survey, you will lose that data. So I just want to call that out. Try your best not to kill the app while you're in the middle of collecting an actual survey. If you've already submitted a survey, then you're perfectly fine. That data is not lost. It's only in the middle of a survey. If you kill the app, then you may lose that data. So just please keep that in mind. And if let's say your phone happens to die while you're in the middle of a survey, again, any submitted survey records and their respective locations will be saved, but anything that was unsubmitted will be lost.